Namaste everyone. I would like to discuss about 26 personalities. I have already made two videos on the 26 personalities, but I would like to share a Mama Eartha channel that can be found on mamaeartha.blogspot.com. 26 personalities give us 26 tools to solving life. We have 26 personalities to our united sound current. Each personality offers us a tool, medicine, talent to solving challenges and unblocking pathways to victory. Here are 26 personalities starting with the inner child. Everything revolves around the inner child. The inner child sets the rhythm. However, when the inner child is disconnected from the personalities, 26 personalities lose their rhythmic intelligence and begin to wander, default, and take on concepts that are not filtered properly and lose their transformative sovereignty. So here are the 26 personalities. Inner child, authentic personality. Childhood, self-esteem personality. Environment, observer personality. Father, responsible personality. Mother, self-care personality. Manifestation, healing personality. Soul, liberated personality. Ego, consolidated personality. Persona, protective personality. Subconscious, unknown personality. Negative mind, resolving personality. Positive mind, intention personality. Neutral mind, meditate personality. Evolutionary, fearless personality. Physical, sensitive personality. Emotional, receptive personality. Energetic, subtle personality. Relationship, service personality. Earth, experienced personality. Jupiter, expanded personality. Mars, commanding personality. Neptune, vision personality. Saturn, disciplined personality. Uranus, revolutionary personality. Mercury, inner communication personality. And Venus, self-worth personality. So I did not put Pluto in this, in the planets that I mentioned. Pluto is the overall authentic personality. So it's very much like the inner child, right? The overall gong of our total self, right? When all of these sort of personalities come together, that's very much the Jupiter frequency. The Pluto frequency. So 26 personalities are created from past life, our soul blueprint revealed in natal chart, childhood 0 to 9, parents or caretakers, environment, belief systems, and personal will. The planets reveal our incarnational personalities coming into this life and transformation we agree to fulfill. Inner child, childhood, environment, father, mother, manifestation, soul, ego, persona, subconscious, negative mind, positive mind, neutral mind, evolutionary, physical, emotional, energetic, relationship are personalities we integrate through meditative participation or involuntary based on lack of meditative participation. Overall, every personality is a layer to our soul, our sound current. Each personality protects our authentic code and structures our ability to be authentic. However, these personalities wander, default, and take on concepts that are not filtered properly without the transformative sovereignty the inner child demands. The inner child's person is freedom. The inner child's personality is freedom, self-expression, and creativity. The inner child is most honest, most direct, and most expansive. When there is a disconnect to our authentic rhythm, we do not know our expansion, miracle, and wise opportunity, and fit the wander, default, and concepts that are floating, waiting to be taken on. The only way to fit the truest personality, inner child, is we must dedicate the life force towards freedom, self-expression, creativity. This gives connection, meditation, and honest communication through a proper filter that is not influenced, attached, or disrupted by wander, default, and conceptual personalities based on distrust, low self-esteem, and fractured identity. The authentic code is human mission, and 26 personalities are tools, talents, and composers to help us generate, organize, and destroy or deliver victory in the total self, which consists of all personalities united under the inner child's rhythmic consistency, interwoven in all 26 personalities. The womb reproductive system is the home of the inner inner child. The navel is the proper filter for the inner child. The heart is the broadcast of the inner child. The mind is the tunnel for the inner child. The physical body is the instrument for the inner child. Radiance is the beacon for the inner child. Power is the resource for the inner child. The spirit is the conjurer of the inner child. The emotions are the integrity of the inner child. Human sensitivity is the awareness of the inner child. But there is no rhythmic consistency interwoven in all 26 personalities when the body, mind, spirit organization is misappropriated, misunderstood, misaligned, and missing proper filter. The inner child is the soul's mantra that provides proper filter, but when it is deconstructed, soul's mantra fades, and social, religious, parental, ancestral, economic, ideology, ethnicity, etc. becomes the dominant personality. This personality never fulfills the freedom, self-expression, creativity of the inner child and leaves us at odds or conflict within ourselves. So it's very, very deep, right? It kind of takes you a while to kind of adjust yourself to that. But basically, I mentioned 26 personalities, and each of these personalities are influenced by our natal chart, right? Our astrological blueprint. That's basically our Sattvic record, right? We've had many, many incarnations, and in those incarnations, we've gathered tools, medicine, and talents throughout time, right? We're talking about thousands of years of time, right? We're talking about eons of time on this planet and other planets, right? And other planetary systems. We have developed our Sattvic record to have these dominant personalities that we integrate into this physical body. Either I'm human or either I'm Pleiadian, right? We integrate into the physical body to basically help us solve life. So our 26 personalities are not meant to be at odds with each other. They're not meant to be at conflict. They're actually meant to be united, and they're basically a tool, a medicine, and a talent that helps us to solve, right? Because as we can see, there are many, many things to life. As I've mentioned, we have the inner child, childhood, environment, father, mother, right? So we need a dynamic range of perspective and energy, right? To be able to solve the many the complicity, right, of life, right? Because it's like sacred geometry. It's very simple, but yet there's so much depth to it. So in order to successfully solve life and have victory in the many, many areas that make the total self, we have to be very deep. So 26 personalities gives us a depth of ability to solve, right? To solve these kind of riddles or these puzzles, or to solve the whole the challenge, as well as to solve the mind and the body and the spirit. That is the great sort of you could say the great sort of secret, or the great sort of mastery of life, right? That we study in these esoteric schools. So when we see like subconscious unknown personality, right, or when we see liberated personality, basically what I'm saying by the soul is a liberated personality is that the soul the soul represents when we feel most liberated, right? When we're taking on a personality that's most liberated, meaning it's not confined, restricted by this, that, the other. That's when we're in the soul energy, right? The authentic personality represents that inner child, right? That authentic personality is the heartbeat, the first heartbeat we have, the first rhythm we have when we're in the womb of our mother, right? And then father represents the responsible personality, right? So again, these personalities we take on involuntary, right, depending on our meditative participation. So a lot of us, right, we're at odds, we're in conflict within ourselves because we have all these personalities that are mayhem with each other. For example, we have, in the father, right, the responsible personality. We have, right, what I call a wander default or conceptual personality that can be based a disconnect with your own sort of transformative sovereignty, because you can be given a personality from your dad that, let's say, it's not a functional, it's not efficient, and it's not a transformative personality. It's kind of a stagnant, or it doesn't really solve anything. It just kind of keeps things, the repetitive cycle, that the vicious cycle that never ends, and nothing ever gets done, and nothing ever evolves, and nothing really grows or matures. Um, we have it within us, our transformative sovereignty, to be able to, basically, through meditative participation, we can we can create a movement, right? So we can be able to filter through what it is we don't want, and to filter in what it is that we need, right? So that's what we talk about: reprogramming, reparenting, repatterning, so that each personality can basically be rich, right? And to be well nourished, and to be personalities that are actually good problem solvers, life solvers, right? These personalities are meant to be life solvers. So when I say persona, we all have a protective personality. We all have a protective personality. And that's our discernment. And some of us, we don't have a protective, efficient, or functional protective personality, right? Meaning we're always taken advantage of, or we don't know how to stand up for ourselves, or, if we allow things to happen that really were unnecessary, that create a lot of unfairness or unjust in our life. So that persona represents, right, we can use our meditative participation to be able to create a persona or protective personality that's actually going to help us solve life, that's actually going to get us where we need to go, right? So all of this is quite fascinating. It's all very deep. So when we look at the planets, for example, Mars, commanding personalities. So we all have a commanding personality, which is like, you need to do it, right? Assertive, very powerful and passionate. Somebody who's a lot of fire, of drive, right? A lot of drive, a lot of grit, right? And for some of us, our Mars sort of personality is, right, it can be very destructive. We can have very destructive, right? A lot of anger, a lot of rage, right? We have a very angry personality when it comes to moving forward, or when it comes to, putting our fire and claiming our life force on this planet, right? So Venus, self-worth personality, right? Self-worth personality for a lot of us can be, again, it can be involuntary, meaning we have an involuntary personality that we have collected from our lack of meditative participation, right? It's a default, it's a wander, it's a sort of conceptual personality that is disconnected from our transformative sovereignty. So therefore, it could be a personality that, like, really doesn't go anywhere, right? It's like, okay, that doesn't really go anywhere for me. It doesn't help me grow. It doesn't help me mature. I'm not healing. I'm not growing. I'm not excelling with this type of personality. That's a default. That's a wander. That's a conceptual personality, meaning it's illusionary, right? Anything, the personality doesn't get you what you want, or doesn't get you where you need to go, or get you to grow, right? To mature. Or help you have victory is a default personality, meaning it's not a real personality. If it doesn't give you victory, right? If it doesn't give you, right, you victory, it's not a functional, right? It's not a real personality, because at the end of the day, the victory, every person, all these 26 personalities, what they're doing is, we're here to embody our authentic mission, right? So all these personalities are, the purpose of all of them is to get us what our inner child wants. And our inner child wants to be authentic, right? So, but we can have personalities of, we think we need this, that, and the other, and all of it isn't, and our personalities are mayhem, and all these odds and conflict within ourselves, where we're trying to direct our personalities towards sort of these conflictional sort of desires and goals and intentions that are all sort of like in mayhem, right? It's all sort of creates this deep sort of separation within ourselves where we feel divided. Because at the end of the day, our uh, our personalities are meant to bring us towards our authentic code. We want our authentic code to be interwoven in every single personality, and it's almost like we're integrating the inner child into every layer of our inner and outer sort of sound current. But what happens is the childhood we disconnect from our inner child, environment we disconnect, right? We can disconnect in so many ways, and then what we have is just all this sort of these personalities that are not in conversation with each other. They're not sort of revolving around each other, right? They're not organized, and therefore our personalities become a personality disorder, right? Where it's a disorder, where it's all disorderly. It's all just kind of, it's not really connected to anything. There's no sort of unified purpose or a drive or dedication that all these personalities are in sync with. And all our personalities are meant to be in sync with fulfilling our inner child's mission, which is to be the authentic code, to integrate the authentic code in every single personality that we have, right? So every personality is a structure for the inner child's freedom, self-expression, and creativity. So our persona, protective personality, is meant to what? Bring us a structure of protection for our freedom, self-expression, and creativity. Neutral mind, meditate personality. That is again a structure that basically a tool, medicine, or talent that is to help us have the clarity to fulfill the authentic code, right? The earth, experience personality, right? That's a structure too that can help us again to fulfill the inner child's authentic code, right? So all of these are just structures. They're all just structures within us. The father, right, give us a structure of responsibility. The mother, give us a structure of self-care, right? So that we can be able to overall solve life, right? So that we can be well nourished enough so that we can to have a deep experience on earth, right? To have a well integrated, authentic experience on earth. So when we look at disciplinary personality, like Saturn, right? Saturn, disciplinary personality, again, right? That's a structure, right? So again, this can be involuntary, where when we don't have a meditative participation with these personalities that we can pick up from the mother, the father, from ideology, the religious, the childhood. We again, we can become, we have these personalities that are not filtered properly, meaning they're not organized, right? They're not organized according to our most honest voice of reason, which is the inner child. So then they become more disruptive and become more like odd. Like people have split personalities where one's saying that and the other's saying that and the other's saying that, and then they're all just saying a bunch of stuff that's like whiplash type of thing, right? Because their personalities, they're not filtered properly. There's no sort of unity, right? There's no sort of core personality. There's no sort of core sort of authentic personality in which all the personalities can have a sort of can be based on, right? So then our personality based on that fear, and then based on that anger, and then based on the father, based on the childhood, and that it just becomes very all over the place. So we need to have a core personality in which all these personalities can basically, get the balance of checks and balances, right? That can be basically whipped into shape. And our core personality is our inner child. It's our authentic personality in which it whips into shape all our personalities because it gives us a voice of reason. It's most honest, and it's our truest personality, meaning it's most expanded and it's most direct. Kind of is like it tells it like it is. But when we deconstruct our inner child, when we deconstruct our authentic personality, what happens is that now our personalities, it's at the mercy of childhood, parent, mother. Our personality 26 becomes at the mercy of it becomes very involuntary, right? It becomes kind of just, just kind of, it's just like a whim, right? You just kind of take it on because, you don't, just kind of, becomes just like this sort of miscellaneous personalities, or these sort of personalities that are not really appropriate, right? Because we don't have that meditative personality participation to be able to filter through everything we ever go through in life, every sense of life, every touch, every experience, every interaction through a transformative sovereignty. And that's what the inner child is about. It's about transformative sovereignty, because it's the only way you'll be able to integrate authenticity into the deepest, into all the layers of what it means to be human, spiritually, materially, and psycho field, and electromagnetic field, and emotional, and mental, and all that kind of stuff. You need a transformative sovereignty, and that's like what it needs to be: most honest, most direct, and basically most expansive. So I wanted to share these 26 personalities because we talk about that in yogic science. There's a lot about, personality disorders, and there's a lot about, personality sort of mayhem that a lot of people are going with. And it really does start with the inner child. That authentic personality is disconnected, it's disrupted, it's deconstructed, and therefore there is no filter system going on within all 26 personalities. There's no sort of voice of reason, there's no sort of core personality in which all these other, the layers of personalities that revolve around the core personality, they have nothing to ground it. They have no sort of they have no they have no center, and therefore it's just like a whirlwind of basically disorder, right? Disorder the disorder personality. So I'm seeing what else that there is. So I just want to read this again, but there is no rhythmic consistency interwoven in all 26 personalities when the body-mind-spirit organization is misappropriated, misunderstood, misaligned, and missing proper filter, which is the inner child voice to reason, most honest, most direct, and most expansive. The inner child is the soul's mantra that provides provides proper filter, but it is deconstructed. But when it is deconstructed, soul's mantra fades. Again, our inner child is our soul's mantra. When it's deconstructed, it fades. Then our core begins to fade, and then the personalities that revolve around our inner child, all of a sudden they begin to get loose. They get loose, and then they start to search out into the world for some sort of idea or identity to base itself around, and then we start to grip on, our personalities grip onto these belief systems and the parental stuff and the society and all limitation, restriction that doesn't, where our personalities are latching on to programs that really have nothing to do with who you are as a unique, transformative, sovereign being. It's just a bunch of, you're gripping onto other things that are outside of you that has nothing to do with your transformative sovereignty. Soul's mantra fades, and social, religious, parental, ancestral, economic, ideology, ethnicity, etc. becomes a dominant personality. Have you seen that? Where everything that supposedly they think is authentic about themselves is basically, what their dad tells them, or their mom tells them, or their religion tells them, or their race tells them. But it's nothing that really has a transformative sovereignty. Right? It's what we call your personality lacks depth. Your personality is boring. Your personality is stoic. Your personality is stubborn. Your personality is set. Right? Where there's no depth to that personality. It's very much kind of bound to a time period, bound to an ideology, or bound to just a generation, right? Or bound to a program that's boxed in, that creates this box, and within that box there's just all these problematic sort of illusions that keep you in this box and keep you in a repetitive sort of cycle where you're just bouncing off a wall, so you're not actually breaking through anything. You're just bouncing back and forth in your box, not going anywhere, not really breaking through and expanding into what we call evolution, right? Into your Pluto, which is about getting the sort of fullness of what it means to be transformative sovereignty, right? Because that's what we really want. We want to basically, at the soul, we talk about liberated personality. What we really want is to basically unchain ourselves, unchain our wrists and our ankles from these sort of these challenges, these problems, these issues, because we want to be master solvers. But we need tools, we need medicine, and we need talent to be able to solve these sort of mountains or karmas or scarring or trauma, or even solve, right, the great magic of Dharma. It all takes a tool, medicine, and talent. And we need a lot of it, not just one, because life is so dynamic. You need many. You need a whole network system to be able to have the sort of the expansion of energy, to be able to have that bigger picture, to be able to have what we call a wisdom of life, which isn't just one thing. A wisdom of life is actually being in the totality of unity. Not just you're united with your emotions, but then your mind's a mess. Or you're united, your mother, but then your father is a mess. Right? It's really, we want, the wisdom is about having that sort of nourishment in multiple expressions of the self. And that's what the inner child is. The inner child is freedom, self-expression, and creativity. And when we devote ourselves to that, when we dedicate to ourselves to that, that's when all of these personalities begin to naturally reorganize itself into a connected personality, in a conversational personality, and in a personality that is a meditative participation, right? Which is about, we want all our personalities to be very aware, right? To be very, very aware of choices, old choices, new choices, evolutionary choices, and what is the goal, right? What is the goal? And when we really have that heartbeat of that inner child, the first heartbeat we ever had when we were a baby in our mom's, tummy, before we even really were anything, right? Before we were a fetus, when we were utero, when we were just a rhythm, a unique rhythm. When our personalities are all connected to that unique rhythm, that most authentic rhythm, that honest, direct, and expanded beyond time and space of this planet and this solar system, this galaxy, that's when these personalities, all of them, right, under that meditative participation, all are functioning for the purpose of bringing authenticity into every layer of what it means to be whole, right? So that we can, in this physical body, basically be the magnificent energy of our spirituality, our divinity, right? And what it is we came here to do in our blueprint, and in our mastery, really overall, what it is to be in our mastery. And these 26 personalities, it takes us lifetimes to navigate through them. Some of us we barely even scratched the surface. For some of us, we're still working on a single personality, and it's been 10 lifetimes, right? But we work on it in this human body, because when we get this sort of unification of all these personalities working with the same goal, for the inner child, for the authentic personality to be fulfilled in every possible way, right? To solve life and to be freedom, to have freedom, self-expression, creativity, which is overall your victory, 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 that's when we really, as a human being, begin to step into our mastery and begin to step into our universe and what it means to be this magnificent spiritual lifeline, right? This lifeline, right? So I believe I got all the information. I don't want to give you too much and have you like, whoa. But I feel that this is something that you can kind of digest and something that can open your eyes, open your mind, and help you to kind of, meditate upon this and, open your heart to this and find your own sort of total self, right? Your own sort of personality unification and start to solve life, right? To have the tool, the medicine, and the talent to be the prolific talent, medicine, and tool, the range, the depth of talent, medicine, and tool to be able to, when you're in different sort of scenarios or situations, or even tests, or you can say even problems like solving a math problem, and there's all kinds of different sort of the different formulas and all kinds of equations, and right, so you can have that sort of well-roundedness to be able to pull from yourself what it is you need at that moment to have the most effective and have the most productive, the most the victory in whatever it is that's in front of you, because a single personality is not going to solve everything. We have to be well-rounded, right? But we're stoic or we're static when our personalities are not, they're not functioning together. They're kind of, have their own agendas going on, right? And that's that inner child when we know, okay, the authentic personality, that's the goal, right? That's the goal, because that's what's going to give me the greatest victory. We're talking about beyond money, beyond whatever the riches we can think of, whatever it is. Authentic personality is about you being in mastery, not just with material. We're talking about spiritual, material, spiritual, mental, emotional, sensual, your whole spiritual lifeline. We're talking about mastery, and that's what the inner child is about, giving you the opportunity to have total mastery in many areas, not just one, two, three, many areas. That takes us lifetimes to get that sort of integration of all the authentic personality, the authentic heartbeat, right? The rhythm well embedded within all these sort of personalities, the mother and the father, and how we always make that sort of integration or that reorganization of a personality that's a default or sort of a not functional personality, doesn't get us anywhere, solve anything, is through transformative sovereignty. And we get that directly through a meditative participation, where we literally, meditative participation basically means that you are applying your authenticity into an area of your life that needs a voice of reason, that needs honesty, that needs direction, that needs purity and piety, that needs nobility, right? And that everything about your inner child is about nobility. So when you have a meditative participation, you're talking to your God within you, your nobility, your honesty, and you're saying, hey, right, I need to to get out of this box that I'm in, that I'm bouncing around, not going anywhere. I want to have breakthrough. I want to have victory, right? I surrender to you. Share with me your integration. Share with me the goal that can bring my personality into a corrective course of action. It's going to give me more energy and more victory and more sense of mastery, instead of just boxed in, just bouncing around for decades kind of thing, right? So even Jupiter, expanded personality, again, that we want to expand through the Jupiter, which is about prosperity and in a way of enriching your mind and enriching your perception, clearing out outdated beliefs and entering in real rich, sort of knowledgeable wisdom, basically. All that goal for that is so that we can be able to have this sort of study and have the refinement and have the sort of teaching that we need, that a teacher, a teaching, a guru that can give us the sort of structure we need to be able to know what it is to to teach, to be taught in how to be noble, and in how to embrace nobility, and how to solidify nobility. All of this, very, very interesting. And the subconscious unknown personality is really the personality that we aren't aware of, that we are always, like, it's always there. It's kind of like a personality it's always there, right? And the more the subconscious is cleaned out, the less unknown personality is basically chaotic personality, or dysfunctional, or real like, like a wasteland personality, right? The more we clean out the subconscious, the more that unknown personality really becomes a mystery, but a mystery that is about deep exploration and a sort of depth of knowing of self, right? Instead of like an unknown personality, subconscious wasteland that is basically a depth of paranoia or fear, or I'm not good enough, or whatever it is lurking, and the illusions that are kind of beating us up and really sort of draining us without us even knowing. Because we're so used to it just draining us, like a little bit here, a little bit there, right? But when it's unknown to us, right? And but it's there, right? So I'm just going to leave you guys with this, because this is something I would recommend meditating upon, because I could be here all day talking about the different scenarios and how, like manifestation, healing personality, and how that kind of helps us to solve life, and helps us to solve these many situations, circumstances, and basically challenges or opportunities that are presented our way. And all of these personalities, again, is for the purpose of, we want to integrate the authentic code into every personality, so that we can really have a sound current that is very masterful on this planet, that's very, very impactful, and that's very magnificent, right? According to the magnificent spiritual, that spiritual line of energy that we have. Right? So, thank you, and namaste.